Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more. Your pursuit begins now. All right, welcome back to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin, and today we have Rudy Rodriguez III joining us. Rudy, hey, before we dive into your story, a few sports questions for you. I know you're a sports guy.
What you got?
Number one, first question, favorite all-time sports team?
Ooh, okay. Looking at that, I was thinking of, do I want to go current or do I just want to go what I know my gut's telling me? And I think I'm going to go with the 1982 Brewers.
That says it right there, fans. We know he's probably from Wisconsin. He's a Brewer fan.
Through and through. 1982, honestly, like, obviously I wasn't born yet. I was born in 1988, but just when I came up as like a young Brewer fan, we were in a rut as a organization and it was tough. So I think that that Brewers team was something we really clinged on to as a city. So definitely was like the first team that I could come around against.
All right, Brewers, it is 1982.
Yep.
Wow. That's right, 1982, right?
1982. We actually didn't even win the World Series. We made it and we lost to the Cardinals, but that was the only time the Brewers made it to the World Series. Still have yet to get a ring from us, but it's promising.
Hopefully it's coming soon. Yep. All right, favorite all-time player, any sport? Who would be yours?
Yep. I'm going to go keep it in my roots. We keep it in Wisconsin. I'm going to go with Giannis.
He didn't grow up in Wisconsin. Didn't even grow up in the United States. But
no, he is obviously born in Greece, but I think he was just the kind of the guy that kind of just put Milwaukee on the map. And he is just a through and through amazing person that you would want to represent your city, organization. Just love cheering him on.
All right, love it. And then one highlight from, I know you're involved in sports in high school and then baseball in college, but one highlight from high school or college sports.
Let's go, man. I think just the college baseball, like just the traveling of everything you get to do with playing college baseball, especially at the junior college level. So I'm just going to go with the road trips overall as a college baseball player. It's the JUCO is a grind as it is. And it's obviously you have to do a lot of fundraising yourself. And those road trips, you get really close with the fellas on the bus ride, stopping at McDonald's in the middle of Austin, Minnesota. So those are the things that I'm really going to cherish on. And I love when I get the memories on my phone that of the videos I took and of the pictures we took. And it's a really fun time to look back on.
All that time you spend together become like a family.
Oh, camaraderie is huge. It's awesome. And honestly, still some of my best friends to this day.
That's very cool. All right, let's get into your story. So why don't you tell the listeners about growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then some of the highlights and challenges along the way growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so a little bit about Milwaukee is that it is one of the most diverse cities in America, but it is a melting pot. It is split up where you go into it and we have our pockets of different ethnicities and different cultures. I was fortunate enough to grow up in the south side of Milwaukee, which is known as like Little Mexico, Little Puerto Rico, just because of the big Hispanic community there. But it was definitely like the segregated city was very prevalent, and it's something that I think I noticed as a young kid, but that really didn't matter. I just being in kind of a melting pot city, I was really immersed into just a bunch of different cultures. I got a chance to meet a bunch of different people of all walks of life. And just growing up in the south side of Milwaukee, I was very fortunate as well just to know a lot about my culture and myself. When my grandparents immigrated here from Mexico, they somehow went from Texas all the way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I think that just being able to see my grandparents work in their jobs and my dad raising me where he grew up in the same city, it was super cool. Just I always remembered my dad taking me to just different places where he grew up, where he played high school baseball, and it was all in the same south side part of Milwaukee. And just being able to go back now and seeing the city still as it is, very still segregated, but the culture is very vibrant there, man. It's people are like just the festivals that we have. If you're familiar with Summerfest grounds, we have our Hispanic Fest, we have our German Fest, Polish Fest, Irish Fest, Afro-American Fest. Like, it is an awesome city to be if you really want to get immersed into a bunch of different cultures, but still have that small town feeling.
So right there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes,
That's
sir. Yes,
awesome.
sir. Yes,
And then
sir.
you grew up, I know you attended a Spanish immersion school, right?
Yeah.
Through fifth grade, and then eventually went on to Greenfield High School. Tell us about the experience of being in a Spanish immersion school, and then eventually onward to Greenfield, I believe, High School.
Yeah, for sure. The Spanish immersion school I went to was a fully Spanish speaking school. All the core subjects were taught from kindergarten to fifth grade in full Spanish. So as a kindergartner, this is right there with English as one of your first languages that you're learning. And I would like to think that I was fluent all through my elementary years. And that is a skill that I still have with me to this day. Yeah, I'm not as strong of a speaker, but those were the skills that I can just tell were just engraved in me. And I'm very thankful to have had the experience of going through a Spanish immersion school. Obviously, being Mexican myself, it was helpful because I could talk with my grandparents who weren't fluent. I could speak with relatives that weren't able to speak English. So it really helped me connect and communicate with those loved ones that just were there was that language barrier. Then, obviously, when I graduated from fifth grade and moved on, I had gone to Greenfield High School, which is a suburb school. Another thing about the Spanish immersion was that it was an inner city school in Milwaukee. So that was like I said, I was with a bunch of different students of different backgrounds, of different walks of life. And then I transfer out to a more suburb school where it's predominantly white. And then the Hispanic community goes down. The Spanish classes there start at a very primary level where you're learning the numbers, you're learning the colors. So they really steered me away from being able to continue my learning in Spanish. So I unfortunately wasn't able to take it until later in high school. And by then, my Spanish speaking skills had faded away. Nonetheless, though, Greenfield High School was an awesome experience. It was actually a place that I considered going back to and even working post college, but it was an awesome experience. I think I made some really good connections and it honestly led me to the career that I'm in today. So I'm very fortunate to have the connections that I made there, and the friendships that I have to this day are some that hopefully will carry on forever.
Wow, and it's just the impact it made. What you're doing now at age, what are you, 26, is it? 27?
26. Don't feel like it, but
26,
I'm
there it is.
26. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At Eastview High School. We love it.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes,
Eastview
sir.
Lightning. Now share with the listeners about the red. We had talked a few weeks ago about this, about the red baseball bat and how you became interested in baseball. I know other sports too at a young age.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up. So that red baseball bat is something that I found out about when I was maybe freshman, like sophomore in high school. I knew it was recent. Like obviously, I wasn't a young kid, but like something that I remember my mom told me, like, yeah, did you know like a baseball bat was your first toy when you were in your crib? So I think it just stuck with me. But then it goes to show that, man, how much of the impact the game of baseball had on me. My dad was a very successful collegiate baseball player. Unfortunately, had some injuries that kind of halted his career, but he was a very successful baseball player. And then he brought that love onto me with giving me that first toy being a red baseball bat when I was just a newborn baby. And I'm now and thankful that he did that because the game of baseball has just opened up so many doors for me, man. And just so thankful for everything that the game has given me. And just, I think my dad also just putting that game of baseball as something that we could connected through and was a big reason that me and my dad were so close growing up.
I know your dad played at Indian Hills, which is a well-known JUCO.
Yes, he was he's one of the studs on the team at the time when he was there. I actually still have his college jersey that I keep with me as like a keepsake, but he went to Indian Hills and it was something that I was hopeful of trying to get there too when I was looking for options to play post high school, and I reached out to them. Fortunately, it didn't work out, but I thought it was a pretty cool opportunity for me.
And then he came back to Wisconsin, right? He played at Oshkosh, I believe he finished up at.
Yep. Yeah, so he went to junior college in Indian Hills, came back and played at Oshkosh, did his thing there, and then I think that was his end of his baseball career.
Share with the listeners, I know your involvement in Special Olympics.
Yes.
And an interest in working as a special education teacher, which you are at Eastview High School. So share with the listeners about that.
So I'll just go back to Greenfield High School. It also honestly started, my first true exposure was as a junior. My baseball coach, Corbin Biersack, was an assistant baseball coach for the varsity team. And he was a special education teacher at a local elementary school, I believe. He did a program on the side called Easter Seals, and they did a home run for autism program. That was a opportunity for students with autism, or just any kids with autism, young adults, to come out to a baseball field, and we just have hitting activities, throwing, and then we play a small game where everyone can come and join, and we have a couple innings of baseball. That was my first exposure to a Special Olympics type of deal, and I think from there on, it was just upward because I was then exposed to somewhat of a unified date program, which I know we have at Eastview, which is
Hmm.
awesome, but it wasn't called anything at the time. I just remember being a senior in my study hall, and our FIA teacher comes in asking if anybody wants to switch out their study hall and come work with our special needs students in the swimming pool unit, just because they needed extra eyes on the kids. And just, I don't think there was enough lifeguards at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And it went from just helping out with the swimming unit until carrying on. Next thing I was doing track out there outside with them, going inside playing basketball, and it just became an awesome experience. And I really want to shout out Miss Tracy Richter. I don't think she even knows that she really inspired me to pursue it even more, but she still currently does work there. And also just Coach Corbin Biersack, he still is heavily involved in special education too. Those two specifically, I would say, were the ones that I gravitated towards, and they just like really opened the doors for me. And after that, I was able to make my own connections and then just really look for colleges that had programs for special education. So I really am thankful for them, and it was an awesome experience.
So that actually leads right into your decision to attend Anoka-Ramsey JUCO for
Yes.
baseball. And then just share with us a little bit about that, why Anoka-Ramsey. And then I know you had an injury that kind of first day of the fall season, to share with the listeners about that. And then playing hurt that season, and then some challenges, and then your decision eventually to go the transfer to the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, so I'll start off then with senior year. High school is ending, and I'm looking for places to go around your senior year. I think we're touring schools. I remember it being cold, so I want to say it's about February, March of 2017. I'm driving all the way to Fergus Falls, Minnesota, where I am looking to play junior college baseball. Right, it's basically North Dakota. I remember saying if you take two more left turns, you're in North Dakota, and that for there was just mind-boggling. I'm looking to play baseball in pretty much Canada. It felt, just because I've never been that far north in my life. It was an awesome experience. Coach was super personable. We connected really well. My parents were just like, they were hesitant because it was so far away, but it was an awesome experience. I think he did a great job at bringing those players in to meet me and just show what the kind of people I'd be playing with was like. So I was committed, man. I was going to go to Fergus Falls, and we're driving back to Minneapolis, heading toward Milwaukee. And I get a call from Anoka-Ramsey coach, who just took over the program. He is probably, I think, just got the job about a month before he called me, and starting to build that recruiting class. He gives me a call and he says, "Hey, Rudy, we'd just love to come for a tour." And I was like, "Coach, I am an hour out of Minneapolis. I'd love to come and just check it out, whatever, see where my options are." I will give it to the coach. He was an awesome guy, super, obviously just great personality. He had the recruiting on lock, even as a junior college, where you can't offer much other than your personality as a coach. So I was truly bought in, and I think I was more attracted to being closer to the cities, right? Fergus Falls was not very pretty, wasn't the bells and whistles of being close to downtown Minneapolis, being able to go to the Twins games when you want. I was very fortunate to then have that opportunity, and I decided to go with the Anoka-Ramsey, which I found out had an awesome basketball program. So I knew the athletics was important there. They were very recognized for the Division III JUCO basketball and for the NJCAA, and had just made it to the state. Now, what would be like the championships of the
Mhm.
Division III. So I knew going into it the next year that people knew of the school. So I thought that was something to look forward to. So a couple months down later, I commit. I go there and I move in August, super excited, and we are about a week out to our first fall baseball season. So a little for the people that don't, for the listeners that don't know, probably our spring training for our college is essentially fall baseball, where you can get your licks in and get your swings in and make sure the arm's ready to go into the winter off season. I was just pumped, and I remember being ready. I go to play some catch with my roommates, and we're just lifting, having a good time, and we're just pumped for the next day where the season starts. I remember now being in the weight room the day before tryouts start of our fall season, and I'm doing pec flies. And in the moment of the pec flies, I go back a little too far and I hear a pop in my right shoulder. I don't think anything of it. I shake it off, finish my workout, go to bed, wake up, have a great day, and get ready for practice. Warm ups are fine. I play catch just fine. And coach calls out first catching drill of the season, essentially. So this is where I get to finally show the guys what Milwaukee baseball is all about. I catch the baseball, and this is just engraved in my head. I go to throw my first ball down to second base, and my arm just chisels down for all the way down to my wrist, and I can barely clench my hand together. I can barely grip the baseball. It was a feeling I've never felt in my life. I have never had a serious injury growing up until that point, So being hurt and not being able to play was just something I wasn't nearly able to just grasp. I was devastated. Took a couple days off of practice, did some light throwing, and I went to the doctor, went to the sports psychologist or sports therapist, and they told me I had a back labrum tear. I had no idea what a labrum was at the time. I couldn't even tell you if they said, I thought it was in my elbow for all I knew. They pretty much, it was an injury that they had said you can take 6 months off and you can repair this and you'll be back to maybe 80 to 90% throwing, but you'll have no pain. Or you can go about it as is, leave it and build up the muscles around it and see where your pain tolerance takes you. Because once a labrum's torn, it's torn. It can't get any worse than that. So two things for that was that the one was that this was an injury that I could probably do everything else in my everyday life just fine. Whereas the one thing I could not do was the one thing I loved, which was play baseball. So as you could see, like that was just a big mental block for me. And then second, obviously I'm a catcher. Defense is the way I stay on the field, right? I was probably about a 250 hitter all through high school, kind of kept myself in the lineup, doing what I needed to do. I wasn't a power hitter. I was a contact hitter, but I wasn't the guy just relying on my bat. So my complete mindset had to change. And it was probably one of the toughest mental blocks I had to go through because it was really the first time I battled adversity in my life. Everything baseball just came natural to me, and I was a captain my senior year, and I just had some really good seasons going junior, senior year of high school, and this was the first time baseball really said, you got to figure this out. You got to see what the cards play." And I decided to not get surgery because I needed to work. I needed to be able to move around and support myself and get through college, and I thought I had a timeline. I wanted to be done with junior college with 2 years and transfer to a Division III, Division II, and continue my baseball career and start my special education schooling. And that injury really put me to a halt, and I was forced to take a step back and see what my options were. I decided to continue to play. I moved to first base my sophomore year of college. Did okay, but it did not get any better for baseball. I finished my college career 0 for 22 at the plate. Did not have a single hit my entire sophomore season. I played a little bit at first base, but I was really put aside as far as the team goes. And I just really had no value to the team, which I understand it was hard for the coaches to put me in scenarios. But as a young adult and I didn't really grasp that. I think I was really centered about me. I was really focused. Why am I not getting the looks? Why am I not getting opportunities here? And yes, I was hurt, but I think the frustrating part for me was that I think I was mostly surrounded by guys that just they weren't grateful for the opportunities they had to play. It was a lot of individualistic things just being said in the locker room. Guys were just, why am I even playing? Oh, this is dumb. And it was hard for someone like me who cared about the team and who really wanted to get back on the field and wishes they were healthy to hear the guys playing in front of them that just didn't have respect for the game or the team. And that was tough. That took a big mental toll on me that I was not able to step up for myself, but just get that opportunity. So at the end of the season, with about a game or two left, I decided just to walk away because my mental health wasn't good. And at the end of the day, I just wasn't bringing good energy to the team. So I thought it was beneficial for everyone just for me to take a step back. And that was the first time I ever truly quit something in my life. One, that was baseball, and B, that was just not who I was. I was not someone who quit. My mom and my dad taught me better that once you start something, you finish it. And it really took a lot out of me to say that I quit something. So it was tough on my mental health. It was something that I still lived in a baseball house with a bunch of baseball guys. So hearing them talk about the team and hearing them talk about the big win they had, it was hard. It was really hard. That really forced me to take a step back and realize it's not all about me. And this is the hand that I'm dealt, and I'm going to have to make the best out of this situation here. So I think that I give that moment a big kudos to where I put myself at mentally. It's that I truly see myself as someone who is a glass half full. I try to stay positive, and that is just who I think I can bring to a team as a coach. Going back now, just where I'm at. So I did take a step back from Minnesota, from Anoka-Ramsey my sophomore year, and I decided to pursue special education and transfer to the University of Minnesota. I started school there, and I was able to meet a couple of guys where I was able to play club baseball. I think that kind of was a atmosphere where the love of baseball came back. It was a bunch of guys that weren't playing for anything. They were just simply there because they loved the game. They loved to compete. And I was just surrounded by good guys. And that made not only the school experience even better, that made just the love of baseball come back to me, and ultimately brought me some good connections to just keep my love of baseball going and really want to pursue then coaching. Long story short, Minnesota was an awesome experience. I met some great people. Started off at the College of Liberal Arts, CLA, and did good enough, made the dean's list, which was the first time I've ever been academically successful. I was a 2.9 student all through high school, and finally was able to average about a 3.4, 3.5 GPA in college, and something just clicked, and it was an awesome experience. So yeah.
I share with the listeners, I know when you're at the University of Minnesota, you shared this with me, we talked a few weeks ago, about that opportunity to possibly try out for the Gophers and be a bullpen catcher.
Yeah.
And why that didn't happen for you.
Yeah, so club team came around. I was still playing baseball, and I just got a general email, I think, sent out to everybody that said, "Hey, anybody interested in trying out?" I think the club baseball, or not club baseball, the Division I team is required to send out a open tryout email just to say that they reached out to students. So I was under the impression that, okay, we're gonna get a real shot. Plus, there was an opportunity to play at Siebert Field, which I've never had a chance to go on to, and I was like, "This is the opposite opportunity. What's the worst that could happen?" This is my second year of being at Minnesota, so this is my last year, and I'm starting my student teaching at the same time. So that's a big part of the story. I found out about open tryouts. I go there, and I have an okay tryout on the field. I hit okay, but my real shining moment was catching bullpens for the other tryout guys. I just happened to be one of two catchers that showed up that day, and I don't remember doing anything flashy other than blocking a couple baseballs and being really good at my framing with sticking the baseball. And I left there with not really much interest. I felt like it was just like thanks for coming. We'll be in touch. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll see. I get a email back from one of the assistant coaches, and he then lets me know that I was able to get a bullpen catcher spot with the team, and my heart dropped because that was probably my most realistic goal. Once I realized like my skill wise in high school, I'm not a Division I MLB caliber guy. I just knew it as it is, right? But I was always hopeful that maybe I can be a bullpen catcher, right? Funny story, my dad growing up would tell me that, hey, easiest way to the pros is being a catcher. And I stuck with me ever since when I was a kid. So I was like, this is a full circle moment for me. So I replied back, this is awesome. I would love the opportunity. What else do you need for me to further the steps? He says, great, love to hear it. Just send us your schedule and we'll finish up. I send him my schedule, and I'm thinking I'm about to be the next bullpen catcher, travel with the team, get some new gear. And they reply back to me and go, unfortunately, due to your student teaching hours and your schedule that you are available, we are not able to move forward. I was devastated, but I understood that it just wasn't the right time and right place. And yes, it would have been a great experience, but honestly, I think it opened up some doors because I had an opportunity to student teach at a school that I absolutely loved. Another door closed, but I think an opportunity just keeps opening up after that. And what led to not taking that bullpen spot was really for the better, because I couldn't have asked for a better outcome from where I'm at now.
And then, like you said, other opportunities arise, other doors open. And it ties in the next, we're going to talk about next was about share with the listeners your experience at the job fair and why District 196 in Falcon Ridge Middle School, just something happened at the job fair that all of a sudden the District 196 and Falcon Ridge Middle School opportunities came up. And then also your contact with an Eastview teacher and then opportunity to coach at Eastview High School too.
Yes, sir. We are preparing for, more of a job fair at, I want to say it was downtown Minneapolis, and I go not necessarily understanding that there's interviews that take place at these job fairs. I'm just thinking I get to browse, pick up a couple brochures, shake some hands, make some good first impressions. I end up going there and being a young Hispanic male in special education, not just a general education. I was very popular to say for that first couple hours. It was pretty fun. I'll be honest. I had probably 5 or 6 interviews, and interviews I feel were like a strong suit for me at the time because it was just spitballing the same questions, and I understood what they were looking for. It was a very fun experience, but I narrowed it down to Spring Lake Park, District 196, Rosemount, Eagan, Apple Valley, and Ridgefield School District. Spring Lake Park was a Spanish immersion school, so I thought that was like that. I was like, whoa, this is a calling. This is an opportunity for me to get back to the opportunity that I had growing up. Richfield was an awesome opportunity just because they were a STEM school. So I thought that was something that I would have enjoyed. I'm a big hands-on guy and thought that the STEM program just brings a lot of opportunities for young children. And then I also know that Richfield has a big Hispanic population too. So just an opportunity to work with kids that grew up similar to me. And then there was District 196, principal at Falcon Ridge, was awesome. She was very personable, very, very nice, and set me up for success as far as just making sure that I was getting in contact with the right people and setting up an interview with me. All three of those school districts were pursuing me heavily. I, funny enough, was going through my phone just deleting some emails, and I have stumbled upon the voicemails from all three of the schools. And just hearing the voicemails again brought back some excitement of just like how exciting that time was for me, and being able to realize like I just had some cool options. And ultimately, District 196 was the best option for me because my professors at the U of A had known about the reputation that 196 has built. Very teacher friendly, the turnover is awesome, and just that they know that the reputation from the teachers that have came back and that have graduated from the U of M they have the utmost respect for the teachers of 196. So I really took, remember his last name, but I really took his name was Professor Rob, that we called him. He was someone that I connected to, and I really took his words with a grain of salt, and he would just I really trust that he would put me in the right direction. So it's ultimately, after he had suggested 196 was the one, I went into that interview super ambitious. And at first, I was a little hesitant that it didn't go well, but nonetheless, I did get the job, and I started my career at Falcon Ridge Middle School as a resource teacher. It was an awesome experience. My second year, I ended up getting a center-based position working for the strategies program, primarily with students with autism, a specific language disorder, a few emotional behavior disorder students. So it was two different positions, night and day, what the job entailed. I loved working with the staff there. The administration was so helpful, which honestly, if the opportunity to coach and what I ultimately wanted to pursue wasn't what I was looking for, Falcon Ridge was definitely a hard place to leave. That then brings me to at the end of my second year, or towards the middle, I would say, I met Mark Gerber, who you're very familiar with.
Shout out to Mark Gerber.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Gerber. He's a legend at Eastview, but he did the DP program, drug prevention program, where Eastview students come over to Falcon and the seniors give the sixth graders like a drug prevention lesson for 8 to 12 weeks, whatever that timeline is. As I was supervising the classes, Mark would make his rounds, and I just asked him, "Hey, any chance you know who the baseball coach is?" And he actually goes, "Actually, the old coach just retired and his son's taking over." Tom Stry is another Eastview legend, had the baseball program from 1997 up until just 2023. So he had just built a legacy for Eastview baseball, a couple state championships, a couple section championships, had an awesome career. And then his son, who was one of the state championship team, Pat Stry, took over the team. Mark was fortunate enough to give me the contacts, and I just sent some very generic email to Pat saying, "Hey, my name is Rudy Rodriguez. I'm looking to start my coaching career. Any chance you have any openings or looking for any help?" Pat was just starting that search for coaches, and he came over to one of my wrestling practices and just wanted to see what it was about. We talked for about 5-10 minutes, and he offered me the head JV coach. As a second year teacher who has a huge passion for baseball, was given a JV head coach opportunity. My eyes were just beaming. I was beyond excited and couldn't be more thankful for that opportunity. So first of all, shout out Mark Gerber for that, for connecting me, but then also want to thank Pat Stry as well for just joining me on and giving me those opportunities to be a head JV coach as a second year teacher. And he helped me put my foot in the door and do ultimately what I really want to get into as I get older is coaching, and trying to pursue that for as much as I can.
Then you made your way. Then you made your way to Eastview High School, and hey, I appreciate your just passion for kids, just your attitude you bring to our office. You just bring your A game every day, so I appreciate that. And hey, we all have our ups and downs all day, but it definitely having that passion you bring and that attitude you bring to Eastview High School, so we appreciate that, and especially in our office.
Yeah,
and the kids appreciate it too, and I appreciate it. Let's just talk a little bit about maybe some challenges, just like in the next few minutes, just some challenges maybe in coaching, some of the success and challenges, as well as some of the maybe challenges in teaching in special ed, because we could talk all about, hey, this is wonderful, this is awesome, but what are some of the challenges that go with it? And in the next few minutes, and also some of the successes or like rewards or highlights.
For sure. I would say especially for coaching right now, just what I'm noticing, I have been fortunate enough to be able to coach at Eastview freshman football. I do wrestling at Falcon Ridge Middle School, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th graders still. And coached basketball for a year there, and now I'm currently doing varsity baseball with Pat. This is our second year coming up. I would just say just being able to expose to such different age groups and such different personalities that you really have to adapt to each player. I think that is a skill that I'm still working on, but it's a skill that I think I have honed in on a little bit more as I've realized that every kid will need a kind of different coaching experience because there's so many different needs, right? Whether it be emotional, whether it be physical, whether it's just someone that can take a little bit of a meaner kind of coach that's tougher, or if it's if it's a player that needs that love and that nurturing that which is needed sometimes. So I think being able to really adapt to who your players are, who your team is, and not being set in your ways as a coach has been something that's been challenging because yes, it's not comfortable stepping out of my comfort zone as a coach, but it's also made me realize that I need to adapt to each team differently and each player as well. So I think realizing that and being able to be a listener. I think coaching can be very, very black and white. Sometimes players think that what coach says go, but I like to let the players know that I'm open to feedback. You don't necessarily need to hear what I'm saying and take it verbatim. It's okay to ask questions, but there's a manner in how you do it. I think that it all starts with a good relationship between a coach and a player. And I'm slowly feel like I'm understanding that the more that I feel like the players have a say, the more willing they are to buy into your overall program or to your overall goal as a team. I love when guys like, Coach, why do we do that drill? Or why are we doing this warm up? Here's why. Our game plan is this. And if we kind of work on this a little more, we hopefully to get to our main goal is. And I think the better you can explain that and it's clear to the players, it leaves room for players to feel like they have a say, which ultimately I think can be a big difference when having success or not.
Yeah, that kind of ties into working with students or athletes or students. If student athletes are like in as a teacher or as a coach, really building that relationship. And as we kind of wrap this up, just got one final question for you about some final thoughts that you'd want to leave with men as they continue on their journey.
Of course. Yeah. Like I said before in the podcast, that I truly like to think of myself that I am a glass half full person. And the reason why I say that is because as young men in this and just men in general in this world, that we have a lot more of an opportunity to react to adversity than we think, or just different scenarios that come into us, whether it's positive or negative. We ultimately have a big say in how we react and ultimately what we make out of it. And I think oftentimes we can get into the victim mentality or why me mentality, or just the kind of the half glass empty mentality. And I think that if I could really, especially in my athletes and my young men that I work with every day, that your response to adversity can ultimately dictate what the outcome. I think if men are able to understand that you can decide what you say, you can decide how you react, and you can ultimately that will help you with your approach and your mentality on how you see things that necessarily as negative. For example, right now I have a small adversity with a car problem, and that's making my everyday a little bit more difficult. But I can sit here and I can sulk. I can sit here and I can play the blame game and why me. But I decide to get up every day. I still go to work and I try to bring a positive attitude for my students. And I'm going to continue to call until another door opens up. And I think what I'm seeing now is that a lot of students the ownership is not really there anymore. I would like if I were to have one thing for students, is to take ownership of your actions, take ownership of the words that come out of your mouth. And I think that ultimately, like, if you respond in a positive way, you ultimately can come back and adversity will be in your favor. You can turn a negative situation into a positive a lot more than at times than you think you can.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Where can the listeners follow you in your story?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Rudy Rod the Third, and then on Facebook, just Rudy Rodriguez.
That's a wrap with Rudy Rodriguez the Third. I want to thank you for being part of Men Pursuing More podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Roger.
Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at mopandcoaching.com.